welcome to the TrailManners podcast. This is episode number 142 of the Singletrack Session. I am your host, Aric Manning, and we'll just get into the first thing, which is our beer of the week. This week's beer of the week is a Sierra Nevada. It's the Brut IPA, extra dry IPA. Let's see, this one is 12 fluid ounces. That's good to have on the bottle just to be safe. It is 6.2%, and it's a pretty good beer. It's very drinkable. When it says extra dry, still wet, so I don't know how extra dry it is, but it's a good beer. Not super hoppy. Kind of that champagne-style finish is what that comes with, but it's a very drinkable beverage from Sierra Nevada, out of California and North Carolina. Don't let me forget about that, the other location, but it's a good one. So if you get a chance, give it a shot. It's a spring seasonal, so I don't know if you'll see those out there anymore. This was a gift, and I probably waited a little too long to drink this one, being when did I get this one? I think I got it in June-ish. I've been waiting to try it, but it says a champagne-style beer, so what a great time to pop this one, because the show launches on Thursday, August 15th, and it just so happens on Friday, August 16th, the day after the show launch, I start my new job, so that's why it's a great time to try this champagne-style Brut IPA from Sierra Nevada. As you know, if you listened to the show a couple weeks ago, I'm starting a new position, and I'm very excited, very nervous as well. I'm starting a position as the Assistant Executive Director with a local nonprofit, Weber Pathways. They've been around for quite a while here in the area, and they are an amazing group of people. I was very fortunate. I sat in on my first board meeting this past week, so before I've started officially, there's a board meeting, and I sat in on that. I got to meet a lot of the new board members. Introduce myself a little bit, which, as if you know me, you know that's not necessarily a strong suit of mine. But man, what a jumping into this job. So many cool things going on with Weber Pathways in the area. There's a ribbon cutting ceremony Thursday, the day this show launches, for a trail that was a path that was just built up in the Eden area by Wolf Creek. And there's just a lot of things going on with Weber Pathways nonstop, and I'm very excited. I know I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, but if you didn't listen, and if you did, you get to hear it again, because I'm super excited to be a part of this group and basically train and learn from Mark, who is the current executive director. I'll be helping in any way possible and learning the ropes, and a lot of meetings next week as well with different council members and cities, and I'm just really excited. It's a new step, a little challenging. It's going to be an office job, wearing pants, which is a big step if you know that one as well, but very excited. So that's why this week I've been saving this Brut IPA for a special occasion, being a champagne-style IPA, to celebrate that. So I'm very excited, very honored, and I'm thankful that I got this opportunity to take my career into a different direction. With saying that, I absolutely want to thank my previous employer. I've got one more day left with IPA Connect with Andy. I've been there for 2.5 years now, and I've loved the job. I love the flexibility of working from home with my dog Gunner. He's going to be a little sad. But yeah, it's just a different step and a new chapter in life, and I'm very excited, and I look forward to the challenge. And now I'm looking forward to buying a mountain bike. You heard it here. Or some type of bike. I mean, it's active transportation is what we're promoting at Weber Pathways, and I'm on the same street as my office, but 4 blocks down. So there'll be some walking involved. But yeah, I just need to start commuting via bike. And when I moved, I sold my mountain bike and my road bike. So it's time to buy a bike. And I went into a bike shop to buy a bike, and I found out it's sold out till October from the manufacturer. So I'm in the market for a bike. Anybody who wants to help me out, I would be more than happy to take your pity or help or advice. I am looking for a mountain bike, I think, to start. It was originally going to be a gravel bike, but man, bikes are so expensive. And then my buddy, Joel Hatch, you may have heard of him, he just messaged me and says, hey, man, I'm buying a mountain bike. So just because we don't do the podcast together does not mean we still don't link up in some other atmosphere with our brainwaves, because he's getting a mountain bike, and so that's kind of a next step. Just a different way of transportation. I'm still a runner. going to run. That's the deal. But it's nice to have another quiver in your case for a little bit of training. So, yeah, if you got any advice for me out there, the bike I was looking at was a Giant Stance 1 29er, sold out until October, and then now I'm looking at the Giant Trance 3 29er, which is a kind of a step up from that in the Giant realm. But, yeah, looking out there. If you've got anything, I'm kind of looking rather rapido. So if you've got any advice for me, I don't know anything about bikes. I know how to shift them. I know where the pedals are. I know that it hurts my undercarriage, even when I test drove a bike for about 10 minutes. So I've got a lot of room to learn. But I'm very excited, and I'm very excited for Weber Pathways. So I want to thank Mark and the board for having enough faith in me to bring me on and see where it goes from there. So I also want to give a shout out. Some of you may know this, but last week, which would have been August 8th, which happens to be my favorite number, I celebrated 31 years that a group of friends and my high school soccer coach, we broke the world record for the longest soccer game ever played. I know some of you already know this out there. It comes up once a year, right? So anyway, it's been 31 years on 8/8/88, and yes, I had some part to do with that, as well as my high school coach's favorite number was 8. On August 8, 1988, we set out to break the Guinness Book of World Records for the longest soccer game ever played. At the time, the record was 74 and a half hours nonstop. We ended up going for 75 and a half hours at the time. So we went from 8/8/88 to 8/11/88. And so, yeah, we just celebrated 31 years of that. There were 22 of us that stepped on the field, 2 teams of 11, and we both walked away with 9v9. With the rules of the Guinness Book, you were allowed to finish with 7 each side, no subs. You got a 5-minute break after every hour that you played, so you could play like 6 hours and then take a 30-minute break. But yeah, it was essentially you get a 5-minute break after every hour. He had to document everything, but and at the time I think I was just turned 18. So that kind of set me up for understanding that mental side of things at a very, very young age. This was before gels and sports drinks. I mean, we were drinking Gatorade and water and eating potato logs and, those things you could do when you were 17, 18 years old. But huge shout out to all my friends, everybody that was a part of that, all 22 of you that played, as well as the massive, massive support we got from friends, family, and community in the Roy area. That was Roy High School. I do have the Guinness Book of World Records that sits in, so 31 years, 75 and a half hour of continuous soccer. I think I had, 33 goals in that, so not a ton. I think the leading score had 80 goals, but it was like 300 and something to something, and yes, I was on the winning team. It was the Dragons and the Knights. But yeah, anyway, little history there. 31 years, I can't believe I'm that old that we took care of that, so thanks for everybody that was involved in that. I also want to give a huge thank you to friend of the show, listener Henry Howard with Run Spirited. He's been helping and graciously volunteered to help with a new intro to the Tuesday show that will be coming back, trust me. Since Joel's no longer with the show, other few tweaks, Henry was kind enough to message me, and if you've read any of his stuff and his interviews over on Run Spirited, you know that Henry has got a way with words. He actually interviewed me about a year ago, and it turned out actually really good. Like, I was like, wow, this was all right. I made me sound better than I am, so I liked it. But a big, huge thanks to Henry. And if you haven't taken time, check him out. Follow him on Facebook, Run Spirited. A lot of good interviews he does with some great athletes and some great people. But Henry, thank you so much for taking the time to help me get a new intro going, and hopefully we'll get that going shortly. So. Next up, school. School's almost here. Some places it's already started. Some, with the weird schedules that they do with school, some won't start for a while. But school will be back in session very soon, which I know for a lot of people means tweaking your training. Because in the summer, maybe you're a little more flexible because kids sleep in, or maybe you're, maybe not as flexible. I don't know. But I know with me, when school starts, it kind of changes when I can take my daughter to school, when I have to run. And now with a job I have to be in an office from the last 2.5 years, that's going to be different. So, yeah, school started. So please, if you're driving around in the mornings, be very cautious. Don't run people over. Also coming up for me, my new season for coaching soccer starts here in about a week and a half. We've been doing quite a few tournaments. We're leaving for San Francisco at the end of the month for a tournament, but our season's right around the corner, so that's just yet another thing to throw in the mix for me to pay attention to and focus on, but I'm real excited about that. So we also want to give a huge shout-out to friend of the show. If you listened a couple weeks ago, I mentioned that Scott Jaime was on the Colorado Trail. He was going unsupported from Waterton Canyon to Durango, and unfortunately that was cut short. I got a message from him, text message from him, that he pulled up. He just wasn't. He said his old body was not into it. If you know Scott, you know the guy does whatever he sets his mind to. But it was interesting talking to him a little bit just via text and seeing some posts. He just felt like he wasn't prepared to carry that large and heavy of a pack, and he has a lot to learn, and I guarantee it won't be his last stop. But man, what a great adventure to even set out and have the guts to do that. And then we started talking about our own fast packing. So, I don't even know when year it was now. It's been a while. 2007, that's when it was. 2007, Scott Jaime. This is before I ran ultras. So he knows that I'm one of those people that, hey, you want to do this? And even if it sounds stupid, I'm usually like, yeah, let's give it a whirl. But in 2007, he was living here, and he just moved to Colorado, and he wanted to do the Highline Trail in the Uintas. The Highline Trail stretches, roughly 80 miles, 8 passes, and it's a big undertaking. And Scott decided, I was just along for the ride, that he wanted to do it, and I said, let's do it. And so we set out to do it. It was one of the hardest to this date things I've ever done. It wasn't running. I was absolutely not in the shape I was when I, been running hundreds and 50s and things like that. And we were walking. So if you're a runner, marathon, whatever you run, that walking can a lot of times hurt more. Because you're on your feet longer. It's kind of that rhythmic thing. I don't know. Walking's brutal. Hiking is hard. I'm not saying running's not, but hiking is hard. So, but yeah, we set out, and it was a lot of fun. And so we started talking about that a little bit, reminiscing, and when we set out to do it, we ended up doing 82 miles. We kind of took a detour, and 43 hours and 58 minutes. And I remember just how beat up we were. And Scott was kind enough back then. He wrote up a little write-up on our adventure, which I'm glad he did, because it helps me remember what we went through. And I know I went through some, 7 miles in, I started developing major blisters. We got lost. I was got delirious at one point. And we didn't pack sleeping bags, tents, anything like that. So it was kind of that fast packing just to do it. We weren't setting out for a record or anything like that. I didn't even know what those were, FKTs back then. I thought that was some, breakfast sandwich or something. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. So we're thinking about, so I said, hey, let's do another one. I'm ready. Let's do a fast packing adventure. And he's like, all right, you name it, I'm in. And I thought, wow, where would I want to go? So listeners, where would I want to go do a fast packing adventure? Now take in mind, I'm not looking for 400 miles, a whole long through trail. I would be comfortable with 100 to 150 miles, to be honest with you. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot, just because you can run a 100-mile race. I mean, you're talking Wonderland Trails, John Muir's, Appalachian, Pacific Crest. I mean, there's all these trails out there, and they're all long. I know one I really absolutely 100% want to do is the Wonderland Trail, but I kind of want to stretch farther than that and do something a little bit more out of my comfort zone. So if you have some suggestions for myself and Scott Jaime on a fast packing adventure, we're not going for FKTs, we're going for FGTs, frickin' good times. If you have some ideas for us, let us know. Scott knows way more than I do about trails anyway. He's kind of the map reader. I'm just the follower. I just want to be an adventure. Love trees, love mountains, love lakes, love streams. So stuff like that, if you've got a good stretch for us, shoot me a message at manners@trailmanners.com. I'm taking suggestions, and I will absolutely follow up with Scott to do something. I want to do a fast pack, a couple 100 miles maybe, right? I'm drinking this champagne IPA. So, yeah, a couple 100 miles I'd be into, I guess. Depends how much time I can get off work. Maybe I could call it product testing or something, since I'm working with a nonprofit trail group now. But, yeah, if you have some stuff for us, please let me know. I would love to hear all the expertise that's out there for trails and trips and routes like that. But back to Scott. Scott, thank you for including me, in your endeavors in the Colorado Trail FKT. Unsupported. I can't wait to see. I know you're going to try it again, just because I know who you are. But we all wish you well. I'm glad you're healthy, happy, and strong. So getting ready to celebrate the big 5-0 next month, I think. So how about some races? There's a lot that this is like, to me, this is like race season. I know we've had a lot that have gone on, but it seems to me like when you get into August, September, it's just like boom, 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 big races all over. Last week we had the Sierras and all in Switzerland. We had, what else do we had? Some other big ones. What were some of the other ones? We had the Ute 100, Bigfoot 200, Fat Dog 120. There's just a lot. Eastern States 100. Let's give absolute love to the Beast Coast. Love it. Great group of people all over the East Coast and the Midwest and the Mountain States and especially the West Coast. And where else am I? Northwest. Canada. Hawaii. South America. Let's just keep going. But no, just a lot of good races. But a couple shout-outs. We want to have Trevor Fuchs. He's been on the show a few times. He won the Ute 100, took first place this year, had some crazy good time of, I don't know, course record. And so did the woman, Melissa. I'm sorry I'm not going to get your name right. Ostazawiski. Trevor was 20:59. She was 28:57 for the Ute 100 winners. Bigfoot 200. Mike McKnight, who's been on the show, he hiked, ran, walked away with that one for the Bigfoot 200. We also have friends of the show. We've had on Phil Lowry and many others. So a lot of fun races. Fat Dog 120. Our friend Ty Draney went out to that one. It didn't sound like he finished. Didn't have the day he was hoping for. But I know that's one that's been on his radar. But it's also an alternate course due to some fire damage. I don't know how that affected anything as far as the race itself. That's up in BC, up in the Great White North, Canada. Eastern States, back in Pennsylvania, Megan Burke and Wesley Atkinson came away with that one. God, there were so many races last year. Or last week, excuse me. Aspen backcountry races, there are a lot. But the Ute 100. But one thing I want to talk about is we mentioned Ty Draney, El Vaquero Loco. That was a couple weeks ago, which is still to date probably one of my favorite races of all time. Wasn't able to get up there this year with trying to cram and get moved on, transitioning from my job. But the good news is every year I get scared, right? Because you just don't know. You hear rumors, you see things. But I did see that there will be registration opening up, I think, soon for next year's El Vaquero Loco. So that's fantastic news. And I know a lot of people are chasing their 5-year buckle. I had some great friends just get theirs this year, their 5-year buckle, which I'm happy to say that's probably the most the coolest accomplishment I've had in running. I mean, I've had some fun stuff, but it's just a cool buckle. So I know there's a lot of people chasing that, so you still got a chance. It's coming back another year. I definitely recommend you run that race if you've never run it. If you've run it before, run it again because it is an absolute phenomenal course. We all know Ty puts on just runner-first races, and a lot of great race directors do. So, support that one. Also this weekend, we want to give a shout-out to Jim Skaggs. He's got the Harriman Trail Race up in Harriman State Park near Yellowstone. He will be doing same-day registration for that. So take a look. Get on Ultra Sign Up. Check that out. You don't want to miss it. I am doing everything I can to get up there to volunteer. but I'm doing some house sitting, plus I've got my pet, plus I got my new job starting, plus soccer, so I'm really trying to get up there. It's about a 4-hour drive from my house, but I want to be a part of that. But Jim did mention he is doing same day. I have run up on Harriman. I helped do some course recon before the first year, and it's a super, super cool place to run. So if you haven't been up there, if you got some free time this weekend, head up. And he could probably use some more volunteers as well. So you can volunteer for the race. You can sign up for the race and be a part of something pretty special. Jim puts on a great race, and it's a beautiful venue and a great place if you haven't ever been up there. So keep that in mind. Speaking of the Bigfoot 200, I did see that registration is opening up in August for next year. And we just started that crazy 200 circuit, right, that Mike did. He's doing what do they call that? Yep, that's what I'm talking about. That's what they call it. That one, where you run Bigfoot plus all the other ones. That's the one. So that's coming up. You got Tahoe, you got Moab. You have all those getting ready to kind of kick off, I guess. So I still don't know about that distance. Some days, I get really excited, watching everybody run it, right? The Triple Crown Series, there we go. I get excited. I'm like, yeah, man, maybe. And then I watch the after pictures sometimes and still get maybe, and then I look at some of the carnage and think, I don't know, 100 plus hours. I'm not a fast dude, and especially if I ran a 200, because I've never run one. 100 hours, right? 100 hours, and you could say give or take either side, but now you're really stretching it. I think the longest, besides this Highline Trail I mentioned, that I was on my feet for much longer than 100. What I say, 44 hours ish. 44 hours. So I'm doubling that and over doubling the distance of that Highline Trail. And I know I'm in better shape. I know more. There's more stuff out there. But even look back at a Wasatch 100 finish. My slowest time my first year was a 34-hour endeavor. I'm tripling that. Holy cow. That's spooky. So I still can't tip my hat enough to all you 200-mile runners. And again, not that I'm not tipping to the 100-milers, because we've got Wasatch coming up, we've got the Bear coming up, we've got all these other hundreds coming up, but 200, folks, I just don't know. Here we go. Bigfoot 200 opens. The registration, it just finished. The race just finished, and the registration opens August 28th. So I think it's pretty smart to capitalize off the excitement, right? Because I would have probably signed up 2 days ago for the Bigfoot for next year if it was open. That would have scared me. That would have been a bad move. That would have been well, no, I wouldn't have, because I haven't saved my money or broke into my 401k or anything. But they also have some other races too, other distances and other stuff there. All right, let's move forward. We talked about that a little bit. I want to talk about some Ask TrailManners questions, because there's some good ones. I got 3 of them this week, and then we'll jump back to WDYFTY. First Ask TrailManners questions comes from Wendy in Oregon. Oh, I love Oregon. Whenever I see the word Oregon, I get happy. I think ferns and trees and green and rain, and I love it. Okay, so here's what Wendy had to say. With all this heat, it takes me back to running in cooler weather. I am curious, TrailManners, what your favorite time of year to run, ? Or season, ? Wendy, fantastic question. Let's just start off by saying I hate summer. I don't like summer at all. It's too hot. It makes me sad. It's too hot. And it gets brown, and it scares me with fires and rattlesnakes. So I'm not a summer one, so let's knock that one out. Let's start seasonal. So that leaves me 3 seasons to go. In Utah, we're very fortunate we get all 3. The other season would be winter. There's another season called spring, and another season called fall. So my favorite season to run, I would always have said, is fall. I love fall. I'm huge. My daughter's name's Aspen. I love aspen trees. I love the trees changing, leaves on the ground, the colors, the cooler temperatures are ringing back. So I would always say it's fall. But I have noticed spring is creeping in there. And for the simple fact, if you're in Utah, sometimes you go through these longer winters, and you're always on the snow. And so when you see dirt or you get that opportunity to put your shorts and T-shirt on, right, instead of having a jacket or pants or whatever, that's inspiring, and that's very rejuvenating. So I'm still going with fall. So the favorite time of the year, October. October for me is a very awesome time to run, and that's in the fall. But creeping up is the spring. I'm talking March-ish spring. Maybe the 1st of April, but then it does start to get warm. Anything over 80 to me is hot. So I like the early spring, and I love the fall, and I love running on that first snow, right? That first snow of the year. There's something always magical about that. By the 20th snow of the year, I get Tourette's, start saying things I don't even know what I'm saying. But yeah, I would say October would be the month I would pick, and my season would be fall. But again, there's some creepies in there as well, the creeping around to spring. But summer's my least favorite. Winter would come in at number 3. 2 would be spring, and 1 I'm gonna go with fall. And Oregon in the fall. Oh, Wendy, you're lucky. All right, next one comes. Here we go. Time to put you on the spot. Okay, this has happened like a couple weeks ago. You keep putting me on the spot. Time to put you on the spot. I've noticed more and more trail running podcasts. Some come and go, and some don't have nearly the consistency you've had over the years. Well, thank you, since we haven't been too consistent for a while. But I was curious if you listen to other trail running podcasts and which ones you like. Lastly, next time you visit Colorado, I'd love to take you on a tour of my favorite trails. This is from Teresa in Colorado. Well, Teresa, thank you for, number one, the invitation, and I could absolutely hit you up on that. I think I'll be coming to Colorado for Thanksgiving, Colorado Springs again. This is a good question, and I know it might sound bad, so I always like to have a good explanation here. So, first of all, yes, there's been a lot more trail running podcasts. Secondly, I know what you're saying as far as consistency goes. Some definitely aren't, or they have different ways, and I'm in a rut right now with the consistency thing. I get it, so I'm not. But I've also been doing it for almost 5 years, so I like to think that, the first 4 years or so we were very consistent. I know we worked, but here's the crux. So listen to the whole explanation before you judge me. Do I listen to other trail running podcasts, and which ones you like? Well, the short answer is no. I don't listen to other trail running podcasts, and I know a lot of people will go, "Oh, that's nice. You think you're the best." The reason being is I absolutely don't want to listen for the simple fact that I don't want to change the style we do, the way we do it, ideas, anything else. And I know you can see when you do something, see something, sometimes you can kind of get drawn into it. And maybe I don't want to change. First of all, I'd never do anything another show does on purpose. And I don't listen, so I can't ever say, "Oh, Aric got it from those guys," or that person, or her, or him, or whatever. But I think sometimes subliminally you could do that. And it's always scared me, because I've never wanted to do this show and have people go, "Oh, they're basically copying them, or doing this or doing that." I've never wanted that. And it's always scared me. Like, I've always wanted to stay, I hate to use the word all the time, but authentic and true to why we started it, why we do it, and the way we do it. I've always preached, by no means are we the best trail running podcast. We don't have, I'm not saying we have the best format, the best anything. We do it because we love it, and we do it the way we've always wanted to do it. And I'm saying we because Joel is such an integral part still of the podcast, even though he's not on. He set the groundwork with me on this. And that always has made me nervous. I have at times listened to, and I think we've talked about this before, those who have listened to the show about this topic, but I have listened to some just like maybe 5 minutes, right? Especially when there's a new person or a new podcast that launches. But for me, it's always about the sound. I'm always curious with the sound. That's always been my thing, especially if I know it's remote, right? So if someone's calling in or they've got somebody on the phone, I'm always looking for ideas there. Now, there's so much technology out there, I wouldn't say I'm stealing someone's idea if they're using Skype or Google Hangout or all these programs and software out there. But I'm always curious what sounds better, because I've always had a problem with the phone ones because it's really difficult. And as a podcaster, we feed off each other. We feed off the guests by body language. when to interject something, when to talk, when not to talk. And over a phone, it's very difficult, even on video conference, because that could be lagged or looks silly. So that's the only time I've really listened to a podcast is based on the sound. I have listened to a couple times when people have emailed me or messaged me saying, hey, did you hear this? And it's not, I don't know, someone, I guess someone could knock our show on their podcast or something. I would never know unless someone told me. But I have done that a few times, like, wow, did you hear this? And if I haven't, sometimes I'll listen. But I always like to go, well, where's it at? So if it's an hour show, I'm not going to listen to the show. Where's it at? Is it 40th minute to 50th minute? Whatever it might be. So this is a super long explanation, Teresa, but I think it's important to know that it's not that I don't want to support other shows, because I would. It's not like we're making money and it's this big contest. Like, I hope you listen to multiple trail running podcasts just to get more information if it's what you love, right? Just like reading a book. You have a favorite author, sometimes it's fun to read somebody else. So yeah, I hope everybody listens to other podcasts if you like them, for sure. But I don't like to, because I don't like to be swayed in any way. I want to stay to what we do, and if it sounds like somebody else or whatever, I'd like to say, well, we've been doing it for 5 years, so were they around then? We don't make drastic changes with the podcast. And there's things we could do. There's things I've wanted to do, but I found out other people have done, and I didn't know that, so I just didn't do it, right? So I still would feel uncomfortable that way, even if it's a little bit different as far as the format goes. So, Teresa, that's a great question. I give much respect, and I pat them on the back. Anybody that does a podcast, I don't care if it's trail running or not, because I know what goes into the shows, and we're not this huge major podcast where there's all these people editing for you. I mean, I do everything by myself. And I know a lot of others do as well, because I know some of the names that have come out with podcasts, people I absolutely respect as runners, and some I know very personally, so I'd say as people. Some I don't know well, but I respect anybody that puts something out there, because I know how difficult that can be. Over the years, I've definitely got more used to doing a podcast, more used to being in front of a microphone, more used to someone saying, hey, you're the TrailManners person, which is still difficult. But yeah, I give credit to everybody that gives it a shot, or everybody that's doing it, because I do know how labor intensive and how much work goes into it. And I think you can get by with just enough to do it, and I think you can go to the other realm and just crush it out of the park. To me, it's so personal, and that still is. It always will be for me. And that's why I continue to do it. And the day that comes where it's not personal, it doesn't feel good, it doesn't feel if it starts feeling more and more like work, I think that's when I would get away from it. I think this last 6 months, 6 months plus even a little bit, has really helped me by not being as consistent, because we were consistent for so long. Not to say it was work, but I think when Joel left, it was kind of that break point, right? It was that point of, okay, let's continue to do it, but I think this break's been really good for me. And I think once we get kicking back in, like I said, I've got some brainstorm sessions with ideas and some tweaks and some changes, and have a few things I'm throwing out there. And I might even poll the listener to see if it's something we should do. I've had people say, you should just do seasons. Like your first season is like 10 shows, and then you take some time off. I think you can do that to a degree, but it's really hard in the trail running world, because trail running is continuous. It's every day. It's something, a new topic, a new race, a new information. And so I think it's difficult to say that seasonal thing, but I think the break's been good in the simple fact I can kind of recharge a little bit, put a stamp on it, maybe tweak it just a little where I'm kind of the solo host, where I can have a guest host, where I can find new content, where I could find new people and new ways of doing it. So I think consistency is hard. It's not as easy as people think. It's not, plug and play and go. There's a lot that goes into it. So yeah, I tip my hat to all of them. I don't listen to them, but I absolutely support them. As long as they do it, they're good. I don't want people bad-mouthing anybody on the microphone. There's enough of that on social media. So if they do that, I probably wouldn't be as thrilled, but I would never know unless someone told me. So I hope that answers. That's a super, super Teresa. I'm sorry if you fell asleep halfway through that one, but short answer, I don't. And which ones do you like? I think the one I like, if I had to pick one, would be the TrailManners podcast. I think that's pretty good. So I'd say I've listened to that one a couple times. So there's my answer. All right, let's kick over to some woody footies. Loving the woody footies. It's the hardest part of the week for me, literally. It's not work. It's not what I'm going to have for dinner. It's not, am I going to cut my toenails this week or wait another week? It's always which woody footy wins, because there's so many good ones, and I get feeling guilty if I don't pick certain ones, and sometimes I get caught in between some. But the first one I want to bring up is from Annetta Zepatella, I'm guessing. Her friend Jennifer just finished her and her friend Jennifer finished the Eastern States 100 together. It was their third 100. They ran together all the way, and third in their quest to run the three hardest hundreds on the East Coast: Hellbender, Eastern States, and Cruel Jewel. Middle-aged, mid-pack suburban moms. I love that, and you better go make a T-shirt. Mamsum, middle-aged, mid-pack suburban moms. I love it. Go make a T-shirt and go crush the other hundreds. That wasn't the winner, but I just had to bring that up because that's super cool. But we had some really good ones from all over the country again, and we had, other locations as well across the globe. Oh my gosh, some of these are great, but I'll just get right to it. The winner for this week that we're going to use for the picture goes to Garrick, Arends, the Teton Mountains. And it's one that you got to click on to expand, because with having the person, having the body of water, having the clouds, having the mountains, having the trees, you're implementing all my favorite elements. And I'm sure there's a beer somewhere in that photo way off into the city. But Garrick is going to be the winner this week. I did, folks, newsflash, I did get a hold of my printer, so we are back on track for new hats. I know I've said that for a long time. Trust me, no one's more frustrated than I am, but they will come back. So no hats right now, but Garrick Arends is the winner for this week's Woody Footy. I want to challenge my listeners, because I look and there's a lot of similar ones, the Jeremy Haddocks, the Wesley Ross, Spencer Wells. There's so many names that do it consistently, and I hate to not say everybody. Chris Pax, Cade Browns, they're Alex Terrell from the beginning. They're always doing it. Mark Davis, Christopher Fell from Germany. Share this with your friends. I want to see some new names, right? Just to broaden it more, just to give us more exposure to better pictures. It's not for necessarily me, I guess, in a roundabout way. Say, it's growing the TrailManners. Well, yes, but I love to see the photos because they're inspiring. When I see Aaron Saft and his 12-year-old bagging the two tallest peaks in the East, right? That's inspiring to me. When I see people in these beautiful places that I probably won't go to, or seeing Jim Skaggs drink a PBR on top of a mountain, or Turtle Miller thinking he's cool enough not to tell us where he's at because it's so pretty. I love to see it. So maybe share it with some friends. Say, hey, you should go post a picture here. I love to see them. So that would be awesome. I think that's pretty much it. I love Chad Smith's. Yeah, I'll read this one to everybody because you can't see it, but if you go on there, it's from the Eastern States 100. It says, it's a picture, and it's captioned like a meme type thing. When you see the aid station has the perfect mix of quesadillas, pickles, and brownies. So, and just the photo itself. So if you get a chance, go check that out. That is absolutely awesome. But thank you all for through the years of posting on here, and the ones that do it. I appreciate it. The Woody Footies, even though the hats aren't available, I still want to throw out the graciously sponsor is Turtle Miller from Caldwell Banker in St. George. I'll be heading down to St. George in October for a meeting for my new job from the outdoors. How lucky am I for that? And you know what? I think on my list, I haven't confirmed it yet, but my weekend just opened up, is go down to the capstone races that Turtle puts on in December. I did 2 years ago, missed it last year. I wasn't going to hit it this year because I'm taking my daughters to Disneyland, but due to my daughter's finals schedule at college, we got bumped. So now it looks like I can actually go down to Capstone, hang out with good friend Turtle Miller. It's a fun course, great time. But yeah, I want to thank him for the support he's given us over the years, but also to be the sponsor of the Woody Footy hats. When they do come out, we will definitely get those going to make it work. So I think that's it for this week. We have a lot to do, I know, with the TrailManners podcast. We have some making up to do. We have some listeners to recapture. But thanks for not giving up on us. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Send your Ask TrailManners comments weekly so we can keep that going. Don't forget to post your Woody Footies every Sunday on Facebook. For those that do use social media and Facebook. Those that don't, I apologize. Other than that, just send me your ideas of a nice fast packing thing and anything else you want to throw our way, ideas for the show, concepts, whatever it is. We are an open mic policy here, and I just want to say thank you again. This is Aric Manning with my Brut IPA, starting my new job with the TrailManners podcast, Singletrack Session number 142, and I'm out.